Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Welcome to Chicago, where the fires serve cold, with the Wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Rock and Big Z.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the True Chicago Sports Fan Cave, this is the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yes, sir.
There it is. Episode 88 is brought to you by 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirts. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Go and get your official TCSF shirts now. Ahorita mismo. As always, I am Big Z, and I'm here with my boy E-Rock.
Hey, yo.
What's going on, E?
What's up, Z? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. If you are a first-timer or a long-timer, please remember to hit that subscribe button, that notify button, and go ahead and give us a review on your listening app of choice. You can find us on Facebook at True Chicago Fans. You can follow us on Twitter at True Chi Fans. That's True CHI Fans. And on Instagram at True Chicago Sports Fans. And don't forget, you can support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Go on over there and click on support, and you can subscribe to the show for as low as 99 cents a month. Listen, do you like the show?
I do.
Are you a fan?
I am.
Then tell your friends, and they will tell their friends, and we can all be friends and talk about sports, movies, and all types of ill shit together. Z, what's up, brother? How are you doing? How was your week?
Dude, I'm doing really good. It's nice. It is actually spring now, which is freaking awesome. We get an extra hour of sunlight, and from the word on the grapevine is that the Senate passed it. Now we're waiting for the other side, other side of the idiots that don't agree to pass the law that will keep it the same way starting next year.
I like it the way it is, man, because you kind of welcome you. It gives you something to look forward to, right? It gives you that time to look forward to. It gives you that extra hour in the fall, which is kind of cool. If you're especially, I remember being out at the bar and all of a sudden, like it's 1 o'clock all over again. Like, oh shit. That was always fun, and then you have something to look forward to when it switches back over. I'm fine with the system the way it is. People just want something to complain about.
I get it. I do remember going out to the bar like, oh, I get to party till 5 a.m. now. They can't kick me out. Yeah, that's one thing. But like now, I'm like, I'd rather enjoy more sunlight than the less sunlight. That's for me. So.
But here's the thing, like the time change doesn't affect the sunlight. It just gives you a change in your day when the sun starts to rise, right? So that's the purpose of that, because you know what I mean? And like I said, it does give you something else to kind of, okay, here comes the change in the season. Because I know once daylight savings comes and you get the time change, you sit there and you jump ahead, and all of a sudden, oh shit, it's sunnier earlier. But when you get to the winter, I mean, it's going to be 8 o'clock in the morning. It's still going to be fucking dark out.
Yeah, that's that would be.
That's the difference.
That would be off. Yeah, that would be an adjustment. So maybe you're right. If maybe keeping it the same way might be the best way to go. But I don't know. I like the sunlight. I don't know.
You don't get more sunlight in the winter. It's not like the time change changes the actual sunlight you get.
No, I know what you're saying, but like, I understand what you're saying. We get less sunlight in the afternoon. Like what you're saying is like we get out of work and it's already dark, and we leave for work in the morning and it's dark. So that's the issue there. It's also very depressing when you don't see the sun because you you were at work while the sun is out. So finishing this week out, it was the last week before I'm on break. I'm actually on break right now. This is day 2? Yeah, day 2 of the break, and it's going pretty good because it's been relaxing. So yeah, it's spring break, bitches. That's right. And it's a perfect time because I've been watching a whole bunch of NCAA basketball, and it's been nuts. Your boy made a bracket. Your boy went down. I only put $20. I didn't bet I didn't bet the farm on it. One of my guys from college hit me up. He said, "Come on, do a bracket. You never do a bracket with me." Fine. Did a bracket. I haven't looked at it. I know I got some upsets in there, so I'm not going to look at it. And I don't know what the point system is, but I've been having a bad March betting. So at this point, it's a shot in the dark. And if I win something, I win. If I don't, I really don't care because I'm watching NCAA basketball that's being unbelievable left and right.
Yeah, I mean, this tournament has been a lot of fun so far. A lot of, you got your Cinderella story, and you got a couple local teams. We'll do a little bit of a deeper dig into that a little bit later on.
Yeah, that's right. Also, I know I sent you some DMs, some pictures earlier this week. I was lucky to meet former Bears Garrett Wolf and Kelvin Hayden. So your boy's been doing this thing, meeting some celebrities out there, and unfortunately, you were not out there since you're the biggest Bearhead. I don't know. You might have to apply for some more hall passes from the wife to come hang out with me so you can meet some people.
Man, look, it's about to be softball season. It ain't got nothing to do with the hall pass. It has to do with I'm always busy. I mean, if I'm not over here working on the show, planning the show, writing the show, and then recording on Sundays, I mean, I'm either doing softball or we got work events. So I mean, my bar days are few and far between, but that's because I got other shit going on.
Oh man, your boy's gonna be busy as hell this week. I planned my week out. Let's see, Monday night I'll be at Monday Night Raw. I'm going with one of my college buddies from here in Washington. We go to a show or two every year, and this is the first time in about 3 years that we're actually be able to go to a show together because every time we buy tickets, the other one can't go. So we've been trading these tickets off, and finally we're going to be able to go. He bought some pretty good seats. I'm excited because it is WrestleMania season.
What?
I know me, Gigantor, and even yourself are excited because this is one of the pay-per-views that you actually watch. It's one of your favorites, the WrestleManias. So I'm excited to that. We'll see to that. WrestleMania is like a 3-day thing now. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's in Texas. Yeah. So WrestleMania is 2 nights, and then you have the NXT part of it, which is the Friday before, which is they'll do that, and then you also have the SmackDown, and then you also have the Hall of Fame. It is a jam-packed weekend, and they're trying to be like the NFL, where they have something every day for that whole week.
Yeah, I mean, this is their Super Bowl. I mean, it's literally WrestleMania. It is the event that any person who's ever watched wrestling has at least heard of WrestleMania, watched WrestleMania, made it appointment television over the years. I mean, we're going into what? It's got to be nearly 40 years at this point.
38.
Yeah, so I mean, we're getting close there. And when is WrestleMania this year, man?
It's coming up in a couple weeks. It's about 2 weeks from now.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm in town for it because I won't be here next week, and I hate that shit. I get FOMO, you know what I mean? Like I'm always like, man, I wish I would have seen it. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like I said, there's probably about 4 events all wrestling year that I'll watch: Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, I think SummerSlam, and there's what's the other
Survivor
one?
Series.
Survivor
Series,
bigger...
SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. Those are your
okay.
4.
Yeah. Because I remember watching Royal Rumble, and that was that last one that was on. So WrestleMania will definitely be fun. And like I said, that's one of those ones where we'll actually all sit together and just sit there and drink and eat, and it's like a Super Bowl of wrestling. I kind of don't like that it's now 2 days. I get what they're trying to do, but I like seeing the show in one shot. It actually, to me, puts more significance on every match because you're getting hyped up as you go. But now you have to set aside an entire weekend for it, and that's kind of I don't know, man. I feel like you're gonna figure out which day you're gonna watch, and that's the one you're gonna pay more attention to.
I totally agree with you. I think having it on one day, even though it was maybe like a 4-hour event, maybe 5-hour event, you can pick and choose what matches you're like, oh, it's just a tag team. I'm not really interested. I'm gonna go get a beer, go get some sandwich or something, come back, and it's the next match. Now you're like planning your whole weekend, like, oh, I want to see the Brock Lesnar match. Oh, I want to see the celebrity match that they're gonna have. They're gonna have what's his name from Jackass, Knoxville, Johnny Knoxville. Yeah, he's in one of the matches. And they're gonna have Paul, the fake boxer. Jake Paul's going to be there.
Yeah.
So you're going to have all these different attractions that are going to bring these casual fans, and then the non-fans are going to be part of it. But then the main fans are like, I want to watch this match, that match. And it is broken up so much that you're like, it kind of dilutes the specialty. Because back in the day, it was an event like, hey, we're all going to order pizza, we're going to have drinks, we're going to have everything ready. And WrestleMania starts at 6 and it ends at 10:30. And you know what? For those 4.5 hours, you're eating, drinking, and talking shit to each other, and you're wearing your wrestling gear and having a great time.
Like the Super Bowl. I mean,
yes.
You think about what time do we get together? The game starts at 5? We usually get together around 3 because we're eating and drinking for a while before the game even starts. Then you got the whole game. Then you got halftime. Then you got the second half, and then you got the award ceremony. So you're sitting there and you're starting to like imbibe around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and you're not done till 11 o'clock. So I mean, to me, that's a whole sports day. You can plan your day around that, and that's where, to me, WrestleMania fails. It's not like football where you're gonna have your consistent like local hardcore fans and even just NFL fans who are rabid will watch the Saturday games and then go ahead and watch the Sunday games, considering the fact that it's also during the winter, because that's the best thing about NFL is that's why they get so many eyes. They are in a perfect season where everyone's staying home in front of the television. Well, guess what? Now spring is here, and WrestleMania is going to have to contend with nice weather.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing because they do stadiums now. Actually, it's in Texas now, and it's a covered stadium. But usually right now, what WrestleMania or WWE is doing is they're going after the humongous stadiums. If it's a brand new stadium, guess what? They want to have a WrestleMania there. And most of these stadiums are closed or have a dome where they can retract it and so forth. So that makes it a destination. I'm not a fan of the 2 days because, I mean, can you imagine?
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean is that they have to compete with the home viewer versus nice weather. Do I sit at home and watch WrestleMania live and tweet about it and all that stuff, or do I go out to the bar? Do I go outside and barbecue because it's nice outside? That's what I mean by competing.
Oh, okay. All right, no, I get it. And usually it's not this late. WrestleMania is usually not this late in the year. But, everything moves around with what's going on. We've seen the NFL move their stuff around, and, the NFL is king. But to finish off my points, bowling last Tuesday, yes, we won again. We took 5 out of 7 points. We only lost the first game, but we took everything else. This Wednesday, I'm planning to clean out my place, man. This place has, like, little pockets here and there that have been, haven't been cleaned in years. And it's time. And I wish I had somebody to help me out. What was that?
All the nooks and crannies.
Yeah, all the nooks and crannies that haven't been moved around for a while. There's like a bunch of sports stuff that's just been hanging, that's been on the floor that hasn't been hung up. All that kind of stuff needs to be done. That's all got to be done. And then Thursday, our friend said, yeah, go ahead.
Look, man. I spent a few hours at your place reorganizing all your sports displays and all that stuff. So it's on prime position. So, it's like, was it Marie Kondo when she's like, all right, this is only the things that bring you happiness and everything else you throw away. I did that for you. It was up to you to keep that shit up, man.
No, it's pretty much how you left it inside the apartment. The office is the only thing that's been moved around. And I still got some stuff to move around in the office, but that's what I'm talking about. The nooks and crannies. I got the printers here that are used like maybe once or twice a year. People are like, oh, you got a printer? Like, actually, yeah, I do have a printer, and it actually works. So those kind of things that just sit there that only get used a couple of years, time of year. And then Sandra, our friend, invited me to a networking event this Thursday, and so I'll make an appearance there, and I'll represent the company and the podcast. I think it's a women's social event, and they asked me to come in and maybe talk to some of these new entrepreneurs. So I'll be doing that. And then Friday, I'm going to celebrate my last Friday of vacation, and I'll be partaking in some adult beverages. So if anybody wants to have a good time and take some adult beverages, we're going to do that. So I don't know if you're free on Friday.
Well, maybe we'll see how that works out for me because we're going on vacation that Saturday. So, but yeah, I mean, I you kind of flipped the script on me. Usually I talk about what I did in the past week, and you just gave me a whole future outlook of the forecast. Of
well, you're leaving. You're leaving. You're not going to be here next week. I got to tell you what I'm going to do.
But you didn't tell me about your past week. How was your week? Not how was your week going to be?
Really, all I did was prepare for the NCAA tournament and prepare for the end of the school year. I mean, there was fights and there was all types of stuff. I texted you what happened. I don't want to even talk about that on there. So all that stuff was happening, and I had to turn in some reports. So it was kind of boring when it came to work. I mean, all I really do that's exciting is bowling and this podcast. So that's why I said I got an exciting week coming up, because it's all jam packed.
There you go. Well, you finally found something to do. But as for me, I mean, this week flew right by. I mean, it was the week of playoffs for my daughter's basketball team. They had a tough first game as the number 2 seed, and they ended up losing that game to the eventual champions. And then they went on to face the number 4 seed. They were just frustrated. Like, one of their best players didn't even show up for that last game, for that third place game, and our best player, who I've been coaching for a couple of years in softball, and she's just a very awesome, naturally gifted athlete, and she was just getting beaten up and down the floor. I mean, I got frustrated. I'm over here like standing up yelling at the refs at a 6th grade basketball game and telling them like, hey, there's no tackling in basketball. I'm trying to explain that. And the little girl, at the end of the game, I literally stood up. I was just, hey, y'all get that little girl a pillow for as much time she spent laying on the floor. Because they were knocking her over all over the place, and they were just not calling it. But yeah, the team that beat them eventually went on to win the whole thing. And then they played the number 4 seed for that third place game, and they just, they didn't care. I mean, it just, they were defeated at that point, and I think the other team was just happy to be there, and we really expected to be actually competing for the championship, because this team that we lost to was the team we beat about a week ago that we ruined their perfect season. So it just kind of sucked to see the girls get dejected. I mean, I'm really excited to see them grow and get better next year. I mean, these kids are passionate about what they do, and it's just really cool, because I feel like we didn't really have those opportunities when I was that age. But it's nice to be involved with the youth sports now, and we got softball starting up again. We got practices, and it was finally getting a little bit nicer outside, so we'll be able to go outside. They were outside today, and to me, like, the practices, to be honest with you, like, I love going to the games, but the practice is always more fun. You get to bond with your players, your other coaches, try out new things, just have fun without the pressure of trying to win or lose or make mistakes. We just treat it as a class, like a learning experience. So that's really important to me. And other than that, just getting ready for my birthday next week, the baby's birthday next week. We're going to take some time off and knock back some silver bullets amongst some other things, and just finally relax and not do anything not doing anything important for a week.
I mean, it must be nice to take all these trips, man.
All these trips. Let me remind you, this is old school road trip. Get in the car and we're going to be gone for a weekend. This is not like, hey, we're going to Japan for a month. You know what I mean? This is not the same. But it's fun. I mean, it's nice to be able to take a little bit of time off. We got a nice big place that we're going to be staying at in Tennessee. We got some family coming. And like I said, there's, 2 birthdays to celebrate. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Safe travels. I mean, I know you so far. You went to Kentucky and now you're going to Tennessee. So you know the route to get there. You're very familiar with it now.
Well, like I said, as long as I don't play Enrique Calderon too loud, they'll let me in.
Y te lo dice
Enrique Calderon.
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
go ahead, man. Once you get past Indiana, turn that down.
Ladies and gentlemen, springtime is here. You might be on spring break, so it's time to clean out your closets like Z's doing. But maybe you need a fresh start, so let me tell you about a great opportunity with our friends over at ACSI. With over 50 expert technicians in the Chicagoland area, ACSI offers a one-stop shop for telecom wiring. Whether residential cable installation, fiber to the home, or commercial structured cable wiring, ACSI is a proud partner of Comcast and Astound, powered by RCN. Fans, let me tell you the most impressive thing about ACSI. The ACSI crew did their thing during the COVID-19 pandemic, and ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year award. The best part is that ACSI is growing bigger and better than ever. ACSI is now hiring for field sales technicians and project managers. Check out acsi.tech. That's acsi.tech and click on careers to apply today. ACSI is an equal opportunity employer.
Go get you a job.
Please go get you a new gig. This week, it's tourney time. We talk some NCAA hoops with our local teams making a run. We also talk about the Bulls' continued decline and where they're going to be playing going into the playoffs. We're going to talk a little bit about spring training, baseball, and a lot of free agency moves in baseball. Carlos Correa finally finds a home, but where will he be? And a little bit about the new Japanese acquisition by the Cubs, Seiya Suzuki, who finally signed his new deal. And in the bottom line, Ryan Poles is continuing to reshape this roster in the way that he sees fit. So we're going to take a little bit deeper look at all the moves that Ryan Poles has made so far. And of course, stirring the pot and what you looking at. But first, this is the Big Three with Big.
Thanks, E-Rock. I'm Big Z, and you're not. Now for today's stories. Yo, E, I got some stories for you. So let's start with story number 1. And this one, I don't want to massage it. I'm going to tell you the straight truth. Okay, Deshaun Watson has been traded, and the contract could change parts of the NFL forever. Immediately after the details of the Deshaun Watson trade to the Cleveland Browns of all places came together this Friday, the long-term ramifications of the NFL began to buzz through the front offices and the league's agent community. They reworked the contract for richer. So what they're saying is that this man got a fully guaranteed 5 years, $90 million more than Patrick Mahomes. That is insane. I got more than that, but I want E's reaction of this man who did not play. He hasn't played for, I think, a season and a half. He's got a bunch of civil suits coming after him. So the NFL still hasn't suspended him, and he gets rewarded, and he dictates where he's going to go and gets fully guaranteed. The first fully guaranteed for a quarterback. Every penny's guaranteed. This is insane. E, give me your thoughts.
Anyway, so Deshaun Watson, I mean, he had a 2021 trade demand, and right after that, there was a bunch of sexual misconduct allegations coming out, talking about massage therapy sessions that he would undress and start to kind of do something dirty with himself in front of these masseuses, and we went through all this mess about who should he play again, what is going to happen with Deshaun Watson, everything like that. And then finally it comes down to it after a year of him not playing in the NFL. Now we're sitting here and he not only is cleared of all criminal charges, but now he has the biggest contract for a quarterback in NFL history after a trade from the Texans over to the Browns. So there's a lot of different ramifications for this. Number one, like you were talking about, the money itself. I mean, you're talking about so much money, and the way that they allocated it over the years, you're talking about a 5-year, $230 million deal, and it's a signing bonus of $44.9 million, but that gives him an average salary of $46 million. Now that's right below what Aaron Rodgers ended up getting with about $50 million a year for a 4-year deal. But I mean, this is such a weird time when you're talking about everything that's gone on with Watson. I mean, the fact that he still has 22 civil lawsuits and the NFL investigation that could result in a suspension because he just sat there. They didn't know what to do with him last year. He was basically out, and they says, nope, can't play. And I don't remember if that was a team thing or an NFL thing. But the thing is, now you're talking about like what's going to happen, because you also have to look at the collective bargaining agreement and the personal conduct policy. I mean, you have to see what they're going to allow for him if he's going to be able to play, because like I said, A grand jury declined to indict him last week, and that was his biggest hurdle to go over. But now you have to deal with all these civil suits, which are probably going to be settled out of court, considering the fact that this man just signed a $230 million deal. Okay, so all you did was guarantee that this shit's going to go away as far as the lawsuits and all that stuff, because the grand jury decided not to indict him. So what does this really say about like the what NFL has over the rest of the country, that the fact that they can get away with shit like this? Because that's what I feel like is happening right now.
I completely agree with you. It's rewarding someone for whatever behavior it was, because right now, as far as the criminal charges, those are dropped. So there is no criminal charges. Now it goes to the civil courts, and he has 22 of those cases, and each one has a dollar amount attached to it. So this man is getting paid. But funny that he's getting paid, but the way his contract is structured, it's structured for Watson to also to lower his base salary in 2022, this year, down to $1 million and $3,500, something like that. The concern is pointing pretty much at the NFL, saying, hey, I know you're going to suspend me, and you're going to suspend me and fine me, but you can't fine me more than what I make. So if you're going to fine me for, let's say, 80% of my salary, okay, cool. Take 80% of and I'll make $200,000 this year, and most of that's going to go to taxes anyways. But I'm going to make everything on the back end. So it pretty much, he's in collusion with the Cleveland Browns and saying, hey, this is what I wanted. I wanted to come here, fully guarantee my stuff. I want to make more than anybody else, and I want you to restructure this contract so when I do get suspended, it doesn't bite me in the ass long term.
The thing is that you look at the route that the NFL has tried to take since Colin Kaepernick decided to take a knee, right? You had the fact that, number one, they just blackballed him from the NFL. We've heard about him lately working out with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields just to kind of keep himself going in case somebody does come calling. But I mean, considering the fact that basically, that, like I said, the NFL blackballed him after he took a knee, and then several other players that they just really looked down upon for taking some type of social action, and going against the norm, what people were expecting them to do. And then the fact that we saw guys like Ray Rice, and we saw Kareem Hunt and other players show violence towards women. And we saw all these other things that, like Mike Vick with the dog, we've seen them punish players for bad behavior outside of football. You got them with they do the Women's History Month. They have the anti-racism slogans on the helmets and on the field. And all these things, it just seems very fake when we don't know really what's going on with Deshaun Watson right now. Has the NFL even really looked into what's going on with him? Is any of this true? I know the DOJ didn't have enough evidence to put against him to actually indict him on what he is being charged of and what he's being accused of. I mean, like I said, it just seems like it's a very big screen. So look how pretty this thing is. Look, we're doing for you. Hey, look, it's breast cancer month. We're wearing the socks, and we're all this shit, and salute your troops and all this other bullshit. And you sit there, and when it really comes down to the nitty gritty, you see what this man has been accused of. And the teams are like, yep, let's get him. Come on. We need this. We're desperate. We need players. Give me money. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, man. It's just, that's the disheartening part of it. There's a lot of good things that the NFL does and does right, but this feels dirty.
It just feels like hypocrites, being a very big hypocrite, because you had Robert Kraft, who got caught in the act at the massage parlor. Like, that was a federal sting that they went there, and it just so happens that he was there. But he was caught literally with his, with his, in his hand, and he got no penalty, no trouble. He wasn't ousted out of the NFL. He didn't have to pay so much money. He didn't have to go do community service. He didn't have to do counseling. He had to do nothing. But this black player asked for a trade, and then all of a sudden, there's 25 different allegations of 25 different things that he did at massage parlors and something else. I just kind of feel like it's very hypocritical of the NFL. Because you're not one of the big white boys that own one of the franchises. If you're a person of color and you're playing, do as you're told. Just like the news reporter said to LeBron, right? Shut up and dribble, right? And just because a person of color. But when a person of color speaks out, they get ostracized. You got Colin Kaepernick. He can't go back to the NFL. They're not going to let him go back in. They're not going to let him go back in because he spoke out, because he took a stand on his personal point of view. Did he hurt anybody? No. He didn't hurt anybody, and that's what bugs me the most. He caused nobody any harm, and he was ahead of his time, kind of bringing awareness to what's happening with police brutality and inequalities and all this stuff that came out. But people who beat their wives, beat their girlfriends, actually had a murder case against them, Ray Rice, all this stuff, and they get to continue to play. This makes no sense to me.
Look, hey, Ray Lewis had the murder charge.
Ray Lewis.
Leroy Butler had ran somebody over or something like that. So
yeah.
It's out there. I mean, there are other cases out there. But yeah, I mean, it just, like I said, it just feels dirty. It just feels dirty. And the Browns, I mean, I guess it's the right team because, I mean, considering the fact that they're the ones that currently have Kareem Hunt on that roster, they've had a couple of controversial players on that roster in the last couple of years, and who knows what's going to happen with Baker Mayfield. Now, I think that's kind of an interesting idea, what's going to happen with him and where he's going to end up. But, yeah, I mean, I still see people, Bears fans specifically, talking about the fact that the Bears drafted Trubisky over Watson, and now he's been proven innocent. Hey, innocent people don't have that much smoke around them. No, I'm sorry.
No,
even if you want to say that other players who may be lacking melanin may have had a easier shot, maybe have not been accused or charged with anything similar like that. But I mean, hey, look at Big Ben. It's been around, man. It's not an isolated case, but the whole thing, him finally being able to be reinstated and just getting traded with just a bunch of fucking money. It just feels dirty, man.
What do you think that the compensation was granted? What is it? 3 first rounders, a third, and a fourth? Is that right?
I didn't look into the numbers on that trade too much, but yeah, I mean,
Jesus,
three first. I mean, sometimes you get people trading 1 or 2 first for a pick, or you know what I mean, like low level, or you see a player getting traded by a couple picks. I mean, don't forget Watson's only in his this is going to be his 6th or 7th season in the league, because I'm pretty sure Trubisky was there for 4 with the Bears. They did not pick up his 5th, so that would make him last year was his 5th year, so next year will be his 6th year.
All right, moving on to story number 2. Yes, we're going back to wrestling. Unfortunately, this is a not so happy story. Wrestling legend, WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon, dies at 63. Razor was one of the most influential men in history in professional wrestling. He passed away last Monday. He was 63. The 2-time WWE Hall of Fame inductee broke his hip last month and had a severe health complication during the surgery to repair it over the weekend. Kevin Nash, his longtime best friend and former tag team partner, wrote last past Sunday on Instagram that he was on life support and then he was later removed the next day. He was also a close friend to Sean Waltman, who was a 1, 2, 3 kid, or 6, however you remember him. So this is one of those that really hit it home, because as a kid, he was one of the first bad guys, and that was his nickname, the bad guy. That was one of the first bad guys that I was starting to cheer for. He was one of those ahead of his time guys. And I do remember watching a bunch of documentaries and old footage of him being in WCW and other territories where he had a mustache and he looked like Magnum P.I. But he was so big and he always had all this charisma. It didn't matter what his character was. He just broke out of the TV. He was just always very connectable. And when he came to WWE and became Razor Ramon, and he did the whole Tony Montana thing where he's speaking, trying to speak in Spanish, just like Pacino does. And he's got the toothpick, and he's flicking the toothpick off, and he's just happy to be the bad guy and happy to be booed or cheered, didn't matter. He's definitely one of those guys that I'm gonna miss, just because he was such a good character, a good wrestling person. And unfortunately, he had to deal with a lot of demons with the drinking and the drugs. And he was starting to get over that by going with DDP and doing the yoga. And he was living with DDP for a while. But this one really hits home because he was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those the very early days of being a superstar as a heel, right? So I mean, like, we saw a lot of guys go through that over the years. Undertaker kind of going back and forth. Kane, even John Cena, even The Rock had, Stone. Every major superstar in the last 20 years has been a heel at least a little bit at some point, and
right.
He was one of the very first that was really recognized for that. His days with NWO and Hogan and all that stuff, and it's sad. It sounds like it was just something that went wrong during the surgery, and unfortunately he just wasn't able to kind of recover from coming out the other side, because he's a young guy. 63 is not that old, but yeah, it's unfortunate to hear about his passing, and I know a lot of really hardcore wrestling fans are mourning his loss.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is that they changed pop culture when he went over and started doing the NWO stuff, and that was huge. Like, just like most of us in our age group were doing the suck it crotch chop and stuff like that. A lot of people were doing the too sweet, and that's how they would greet each other and so forth. So again, it transpired out of wrestling and became total pop culture. So that's how you're huge, when you're part of pop culture for such a long time and you enter different streams of different avenues of streams. So you would, they're doing the Tonight Show and all this other stuff. I remember watching what is that? What was it? It was that claymation on the Celebrity Deathmatch. That claymation stuff. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin and Miles Lane and all these people showing up on that, and that was just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it's just one of those times, like it's one of your childhood heroes, like you said. I mean, you think about, you're gonna imagine when Hulk Hogan passes away, or the Undertaker, like I said, one of these like crazy names. I mean, it's just like, and wrestling, like, because of everything that they go through traumatically with their body, with their mind, with their brain injuries and things like that. I mean, there's been a lot of wrestlers that have passed a lot younger than they should have. Eddie Guerrero, China, like, there's just a lot that we've seen kind of pass away over the years, and it's sad. Rowdy Piper, it was another one. So there's a lot of guys that have passed over the years that died a lot younger than they should have if they didn't get their ass beat all the time.
Yeah, and they talked about it. I think Kevin Nash posted about it, saying that if they were able to do what the guys do now, and what I mean by that is that back in the day, these guys, you either worked or didn't get paid. So you're working about 300 to 320 days a year. That means you're off for 40 days out of the year. That means your body's getting its ass whooped that many times. So can you imagine? Because concussions weren't a big thing. When you got a concussion back then, it was like, oh, you got your bell rung. Oh, are you okay now? You're like, yeah, I'm a little fuzzy, but I'm all right. They didn't know what it was and what the ramifications of so many concussions will do to you. If you want a good example of that, look at the Chris Benoit story. If you watch that documentary, this man had so many. His finishing move was jumping off the top rope and headbutting you. So can you tell me that's not a concussion every time he does that?
We talked about it, was the last week, about Mick Foley and all the stuff that he went through too. So I mean, like, it's just a dangerous profession, all the way through. So yeah, I mean, it's a sad story, and we'll mourn him.
Rest in peace. Story number 3. Let's end on a high note. This one you're going to love because there's one right next to you, man. Right there around the block from your house. McDonald's is being sued for $900 million by a startup which created a device it said was designed to fix the ice cream machine for the chain. In a lawsuit filed March 1st, Kaich accused McDonald's of having sent emails to franchises saying that Kaich's devices violated the machine's warranties and intercepted their confidential information. McDonald's also said the device would pose a safety threat and cause injuries. Kaich, which proves the remote controls, maintenance, and other tools provides. Remote controls, maintenance, and other tools for ice cream machines, describe both claims as false and defamatory. In the lawsuit was also crucial of the Taylor Company, which is the chain's main provider of ice cream machines. Kaich's co-founders Melissa Nelson and Jerry O'Sullivan are seeking $900 million in damages. In addition to defamation, they accused McDonald's of false advertising and interference in its contracts with other customers. In a statement sent to Insider, McDonald's said that it owed it to the customers, crew, and franchises to maintain its rigorous safety standards and work with fully vetted suppliers in that pursuit. Kaich's claims are meritless and will respond to the complaint authority accordingly. This is weird because we know every time during the summer when you want to get a nice ice cream cone or a sundae, a caramel sundae, a strawberry sundae, a chocolate sundae, that machine is always down. Why?
Because McDonald's sucks. I mean, seriously, man. Like, you know what I got over my house too is I got Culver's right here. I go over to Culver's and I get that concrete mixer, and the machine always works, and it always tastes better than anything McDonald's has ever done. And you can get. What did I get? I get one the other day. It was like pecans. What is it called? Pecans, salted caramel, and cheesecake bites. Like, hell yeah, man. Nice little mix right there, dude. Like I'm good. You know what I mean? Like we took my daughter over there to get her celebrate the end of the basketball season ice cream, and she gets the hot fudge, cookie dough, and Oreo bits. I mean, it's legit. So why would I ever? Yeah, you hear that? I see you.
Oh man,
your eyes are rolling in the back of your head when you think about that one right there. But I mean, this is some good shit. So why do I need McDonald's? I'm not getting a, what do they call it, McFlurry? Look. Y'all ripped the idea off from DQ in the first place. And then you couldn't even do it. They're like, hey, come and get this cold treat. And they're like, can I have a cold treat? They're like, no.
No, the machine doesn't work. We're cleaning the machine. Y'all been cleaning that machine for fucking since 1997.
Yeah. The first McFlurry was the only McFlurry ever made. And ever since then, they've been fixing all the machines. So, I mean, whatever, dude. I'm not fucking McDonald's for ice cream. Let me tell you something. If I'm going to be a fat boy and eat some fat boy food, I'm not getting it from McDonald's. I'm trying not to, at least, unless I'm like deathly starving and I only got 47 cents to my name and I know that I can get like 3 complete meals with that shit. Yeah, then I'll hit up the Mickey D's. My daughter eats that shit because she I don't know, she's just, it's like a, we get it for, on the way home from practice. I know you're going to eat that burger. Here's your carbs. Here's your meat. You just worked out for an hour and a half. Yeah, but I mean, as an adult, I look at those fries and I just feel my tits growing. I can't do it, man.
Oh boy.
So speaking of growing tits, there was one other story that I wanted to bring up here because it made me laugh, and it's about Mr. Kanye West and Pete Davidson. So Jake Paul, who talked about a little bit earlier being at WrestleMania, he offered Kanye West and Pete Davidson $60 million to box each other. Now we know Kanye, to him, that 30 mil is a drop in the bucket. And my boy Pete has been making some money too. And it's just, this is such a weird situation, but I thought this was funny. And because it's boxing, I said, hey, that's a sports story. Let's talk about that shit.
Yeah, as much as I would love to see it, I still think it would be a horrible fight because these two dudes would be slapping each other like 2 6th-grade females in the locker room. It'd be bad. It'd just be bad. And they can't even pull each other's hair because one is bald and one has a very short haircut. It'll be a bad fight. It'll be all about presentation.
Pete could get hit in the head with an axe and not feel it because he's on so many drugs he'll never know he's getting hit. And Kanye is just like naturally high on whatever the hell it is that is in his Kool-Aid. I don't know what happened to him, but I still got to finish watching the rest of his documentary because I watched that first one. I got the nostalgia, and then I was so fearful of watching the rest of it that it's gonna ruin Kanye for me. So I still got to go back and do it. And because I'm a music guy, I will finish it off. But yeah, it'll take some time. But yeah, I mean, I just thought the show was funny.
Yeah, you know what I did see was I see 2 UFC fighters fighting in the metaverse, and I think these 2 guys have fought before in the octagon. That's what we should do. We should put these 2 guys in the metaverse and have them, like the Wii. They put on the little gloves and stuff, and they box each other virtually. That's what probably would make it interesting because in person, I doubt they would do any damage to each other.
Like I said, we need to get Celebrity Deathmatch back. We talked about it before. We just need to see this shit happen already because that would be like episode 1 of the reboot. Bring it back, baby. Get Pixar in it.
Yeah, I would love that. I'm Big Z, and that's news to me. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride, so do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
This is Enrique Calderon coming to you from True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast. Come check me out on social media, Enrique Calderon Official on Instagram and Facebook. Check us out.
Y te lo dice.
Enrique Calderon.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, this is so funny. This is The Loop, our Chicago sports roundup where we keep you in the loop.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
Z, what's going on with the Madhouse on Madison and the Chicago Blackhawks?
The Chicago Blackhawks GM Kyle Davidson, no relation to your boy from SNL, made it clear in his introductory press conference that he's preparing for a rebuild. And the first big domino has fallen this week. The Blackhawks have traded Brandon Hagel and 2 fourth-round picks for 2022 and 2024 to the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for 2 conditional first-round picks in 2023 and 2024. Forward Boris, that guy, Kachuk, sure, either one. And forward Taylor Radish. The team made it official this past Friday. The 2 first-round picks are top 10 protected. Tampa Bay's pretty good, so I don't see them going into the top 10. So they'll get those picks. This is a massive haul for the Blackhawks, who were going to trade Hagel, only trade Hagel if he got an offer that they couldn't refuse, and this certainly qualifies as that. So they got 2 players and 2 first-rounders for Hagel. So that is a good way to stack up picks and talent. So look out for more trades either before the deadline or after the season, because it is a fire sale with the Blackhawks.
Okay. I mean, look.
Go ahead.
I after everything that went on with them this year, with their just bumbling of everything that went on in the 2010 season, all the accusations, the Kyle Beach story, I have no interest. I'm sorry. I have no interest in them right now. Win me over next year.
Understood. And that's what a lot of Blackhawk fans are feeling at the moment, just because, one, the team fucking really just sucks. And 2, you have that bad taste in your mouth still from all of this negativity that they just allow to tarnish the Blackhawks name. After building it up for the past 10 to 12 years, that whole thing just tarnishes the whole reputation of the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Speaking of fire, Kasper Schibelko scored twice for the Chicago. Yeah, I got it right because I had to do it phonetically because I learned my lesson.
You know what? I'm very upset about the fact that I was going to delete that from your notes.
Yeah, Kasper Schibelko scored twice for the Chicago Fire in a 3-1 win against the Sporting Kansas City this past Saturday. Who knew the Fire were going to be exciting again, man? You know what? I still would have got it because I listened to a highlight 4 times, and I had to listen really closely to how they said it because it's spelled PRZYBYLKO, but it's pronounced Schibelko.
It's pronounced, why are we talking about soccer?
The Chicago Fire have 2 wins, man. It's early in the season, and they're doing well. And you know what? They're actually playing good. They have 2 really good players on there that they've signed this year, and they're looking a lot better than since they were playing at Soldier Field and they won a championship in 1998. So next up for the Fire would be FC Dallas next Saturday. Vamos, Chicago.
Again, that's spelled, why are we talking about soccer? What the hell happened to this show? Bro, just how about this? How about to give opportunity to redeem yourself? Tell me what's going on with Sea Red Nation and the Bulls.
Sea Red Nation, baby. That's right. The Chicago Bulls. So let me just say, I was optimistic last week saying they would split those games between Phoenix and what was the other, Utah or somebody? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That didn't go so well. I really was really hyped. I thought they were going to get hyped up for the Phoenix game, and it just didn't happen. In a nutshell, the opponents are getting the ball out of forward DeMar DeRozan's hands by blitzing him as soon as he touches it once they cross the half court. Double teams are coming in early in the possession, making sure a defender rotates to Zach and having other players beat them, which what looks like right now that these guys are not stepping up to beat them. Vooch is not shooting very well. Ayo is very inconsistent. Either he's going to have 10 to 12 points or he's going to have 0 points and 2 assists. He's very inconsistent. And then Kobe White's a very streaky shooter. And then Caruso, you can't really count on 100% Caruso because he's not 100% yet. So that's one of the big things.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it when you watch Caruso play. You can see that he's just not quite right. Physically he can run. He can kind of do a lot of the things that he's known for, but you can see him wincing in pain when he does kind of use that offhand that has been bothering him since that dirty ass play by Grayson Allen. But I'm glad that he's back in the rotation, but I'm worried about his longevity and what kind of shape he's gonna be in going into the playoffs. I mean, that's my biggest concern with this team right now, because honestly I think I know what's wrong with this team, aside from not being big enough to really be able to face some of these very large West Coast teams, like a team that has Rudy Gobert, like a team that has Peyton over there. I mean, there is a lot of size in the West that they cannot contend with, and that's even with Vooch, because when you see Vooch go against like the kid on San Antonio that I liked, and all these other bigger players, I mean, he looks small. He looks small compared to them. Tristan Thompson has that gut, that fire, that spit in vinegar, you know what I mean? But he still is not his old self. He's not as quick as he used to be, so he's not really doing it. And I think we're hearing a report said that your boy the Paw is coming back, and I talked about him quite a bit over the years. He is to me a key cog in this team, because we really still have no idea what he is. He hasn't had enough playing time. He hasn't had enough experience in the NBA, and I'm really worried about the fact that you look up and down this roster, there are very few guys on this team that have playoff experience, and because they did so well early on in the season, the rest of the NBA is coming for them, and they're just flat out tired, man. They're tired.
Yeah, and I agree with you on a lot of those points. What I started to notice is that Billy Donovan is starting to stagger Levine and DeRozan, so they're not always on the same on the court at the same time to give them breathers and so forth. But the team's already got the format. They got the blueprint, and this happened against, I think, the Grizzlies, where they just blitzed DeRozan, and then they blitzed Zach wasn't playing that game, I think, but they blitzed DeRozan, and which takes the ball out of his hands. And the problem is that these Bulls, once DeRozan touches the ball, that they just stand there. They just stand there. They don't cut. They don't make movement. Like, these guards should be running around like, chickens without a head. The big man should be posting up. I mean, you've got Vooch, who's a double-double machine, but those double-doubles don't amount to much when you're losing these games by 15, 20, and 30 points, because you can't be a defensive presence as big as you are. Tristan Thompson is not the same Tristan Thompson from, 5, 10, 15 10 years ago. And you know what? To be honest with you, I was looking for them to sign Boogie Cousins, who's actually doing very well in his limited amount of minutes. And I thought that having another big guy like that would have been a good addition. I know he's a head case, but I think that Billy Donovan can handle superstars on there. And just like Tristan Thompson's bought in, I think having another strong, like you said, Spitfire or vinegar in his spit there, you need some tough guys there, and right now they don't have that toughness. I think DeMar's hurt. The way he's played the last 4 or 5 games, where he's very passive, he's only scoring less than 20 points, his average is 28, and they think his average dropped down to 24. Zach has he'll take turns. He'll be aggressive sometimes and then be passive, and it's like there's no one else on the team that's going to take the mantle.
Dude, I mean, the thing is that they are tired. They are tired. DeMar DeRozan ain't injured. He is tired. He wants to go take a nap. It's time for night. Because don't forget, like, the team that he just came from, he wasn't expected to be such an integral part. He was a role player. He came over to the Bulls, and now he is one of their superstars. I mean, yes, he's had a multiple NBA All-Star appearances versus Zach's few, but number one, we know Zach is only playing about 70% with that knee right now. We don't know. We can kind of see a big guy like Vooch. You see him kind of drag his feet down the floor, especially this late in the season, because he's not as athletic as some of these other guys that he's playing against, and he's not as young as some of these other guys he's playing against. And don't forget, you're talking about a 30, 31-year-old man. You're all talking about DeRozan is 32, 33 years old. Even Tristan Thompson is about 30 years old. So, I mean, like, once you go up and down, the young guys that they do rely on, Io has been playing very good, but I mean, he's past that point in the year where he was used to playing that many games in a season. Now it's time for the big boys to step up. You got to play a full 82 game season versus, what however many you play in the NBA, what is it, or in the colleges, like maybe 30, 40 games. But and then you see Kobe White coming off the bench. I mean, he is very unassuming as far as, like, when you see him on the court, he does not have that growl. He doesn't have that, like, that mean look on his face, like he's about to tear your heart out. And sometimes you do need that, especially as a guy that's a little bit undersized. And if we're being honest, I mean, who on this team plays defense at all? I mean, there are aside from Caruso, Io a little bit. Io's getting tired though. That's what I'm saying.
Io's got to guard the number one. Yeah, Io's been guarding the number one guy, so that's why you see his scoring and his assist on, because he's tired. He's running around guarding the number one. He's guarding, the Steph Currys, the Morants, and all these number one guys. Yeah, he's tired, and he's not made for that. Like you said, he's used to playing 30 to 40 games. And playoffs, whatever, the tournament and so forth. So he's way past that, and his minutes are up. And this is not what the Bulls envisioned to have him. He was supposed to be a plus, not an integral cog in this machine right now. And then right now we're getting some good news that the Paul's returning, but we don't know which Paul we're getting. I mean, he was at the Windy City Bulls, and I didn't get to catch that game because I was running around, but he's returning. But all these guys are playing hurt. So what percentage is he playing? If Zach's at 70 and DeMar's like, I need a couple of days of rest. I need a week or two to get my abilities back. I don't know. And then you got Lonzo Ball, who hasn't seen much progress on his knee as of late. This was reported last week that there's no real progress on his knees. It's exactly where it was at before. What do you have, a scope or something? So right now the Bulls sit at the 5th spot in the East. As of today, of the recording Sunday, they play Toronto tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, I don't have their schedule in front of me. I don't. But look, like I said, I mean, the big thing for me is you look at I want to say either last week or a couple of days, as of a couple of days ago. I mean, they lost 9 of 11, and the 2 games that they did win was the Cavs and the Detroit Pistons. And they're getting beat up by good teams, and they just can't. And they're playing catch up again. Early in the season, when you saw them lose games, it's because they went up by 20 and then just kind of like put it on cruise control. Yep. And they thought they could just turn it on and off when they needed to. Now I think DeRozan could probably do that, and that's why that's why he got the nickname King of the Fourth, because they had to keep making comebacks on games that they were already ahead on a lot earlier on in the game. Now they're at that point where they are having to play catch up the whole game, and by the time that they get that push in the fourth quarter, after giving up 30 points in the third and only scoring 20, then they have to make that big push halfway through the fourth quarter. They finally tied up, and then that's where they stop, because next thing you know, the other team goes on a 10-0 run and they lose by 4 or 5 points, because they just don't quite have enough in the tank to keep up with other teams, and they're not going ahead anymore. And realistically, I think the biggest problem for this team is that they peaked too early, and now everyone else is coming after him when they are peaking. That's the biggest thing. Lonzo Ball not being there is still a big hole in this team when you looked at the way that he was basically able to set up shots by being a quarterback, and they're still missing him to this day. And it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I'm wondering where they're going to end up at the end of the season going into the playoffs and who they're going to face. Because at this point, they're getting into dangerous territory. You don't want to be stuck in a situation where you're playing in a play-in game, especially considering the fact that you were number one for a good portion of the first half of the season, to the point where Billy Donovan and his staff were almost the coaches at the All-Star game.
Yeah, it's actually a free fall. I'm looking at the past schedule. You're looking at 8 losses and 2 wins. And those 2 wins weren't by a large margin, either 10 points and 6 points. But those losses look devastating where they're giving up 130, 120, 125, 129. It's ridiculous. And being a number 1 seed, and now you're dropping down to the 5. And if they keep dropping, like you said, they might be in the playing game. Guess what? You end up playing, it can be either Milwaukee or well, it's going to be Milwaukee. That's because they're 44 and 27. You do not want to play Milwaukee. And then let's say they stay at they get to 6 or 7, and they end up playing I don't know, Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn's going to be huge because the mandate's going to be over, and Kyrie's just put up 50 this past week, and we know KD, when he's healthy, he can put up 50 easily. So I mean, they're, like you said, this is dangerous territory for the Bulls because they're free falling. Cleveland is a half a game behind them. Toronto is 2 games behind them. The Nets are 4.5. So I mean, we've got about 12 games left, I think, on the schedule left. So it is going to be interesting 2 weeks of basketball in the NBA.
Yeah, and you know, we don't want to continue to free fall because the thing is, like you said, the Nets are dangerous. You still you get a break by them not having James Harden anymore. But you look at the top teams in the East right now. You're talking about Philly. You're talking about the defending champs. You're talking about a lot of strong teams up there, and you know, they're jockeying for position right now when they had a firm grasp on it. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. The injuries are going to really hurt them right now. And I think overall, the most unfortunate thing is I'm going to already predict the fact that I think they might win a first round series depending on who their matchup is, but I think that's as far as they'll go. And because of the injuries and because of the circumstances that they're facing right now, my biggest fear is that this is going to be the breakout season for DeMar DeRozan, and you're not going to see him play the same way next year when they really need him. So you are going to need young guys to step up even more.
Yeah, I think there's going to be more additions coming into the Bulls next season. They got to make some moves because some of these guys are getting older, and we need some youth in here with some talent. Now, like you said, we have the Bulls right now. They're a 5 seed. They can beat the Celtics in a series, and they can beat the Cavaliers, who's right behind them. Maybe Toronto in a series, but any other team, I don't think they can beat. They can't beat Miami, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, or Brooklyn in a series. So it really depends on where they end up. All right, E, it is college hoops time. What's going on with college hoops and the NCAA tournament?
Man, there's a lot of really cool storylines going on right now. Duke just beat Michigan State today to go on to the Sweet 16. Carolina is also in the Sweet 16, so it'll be interesting to see if they find a way to face off. But looking at our local teams right here, the number 10 Loyola Ramblers unfortunately lost in the first round to your favorite state, Ohio State. Number 7 Ohio State beat them 41-54. Really low-scoring game. It just seems like, you know, was it? What's your boy with the Valentine? Valentine's brother is the coach of the team right now. Did you know that?
Yeah, not Denzel, the other one.
Drew Valentine. He's the coach of the Ramblers right now. So, yeah, I mean, he's got a little bit of local ties here, and unfortunately, they did not score enough points to win because that is a very bad score. Moving on, we look at number 4 Illinois. They beat number 13 Chattanooga in the first round of the tourney, but they only squeaked out with a 53-54 victory, and they went on to fall in the second round. They lost to number 5 Houston in another low-scoring affair, only managing to score 53 points as opposed to Houston's 68. So Kofi Coburn and crew are out of the tourney, and yeah, I mean, we're seeing a little bit of a chalk when you look at some of the thing, but yeah, Illinois out, Houston moves on. They were much more tenacious on defense, and yeah, unfortunately, that's how it went for our local guys. And finally, Notre Dame was having a great tourney. They beat the number 11 seed Rutgers 89-87 in that play-on round, so they're both number 11 seed. And they went on to defeat number 6 Alabama in the first round with a final score of 78-64. Very nice score for Notre Dame, a team that had to fight their way through and beat a much higher seed to get to that round. Unfortunately, their run came to an end as they lost on Sunday to number 3 Texas Tech in another low-scoring game, 53-59.
Yeah, I watched some of these games, and especially the Illinois games and the Loyola games. It looked like the ability to put the ball in the hoop is what caused them to lose. And I'm joking. In all seriousness, when I'm watching these two teams, especially our local teams, it looked like they could not score. Looks like there was a lid on the basket. Illinois was missing like a bunch of baskets just at the rim. So was Loyola. The 3-point shooting wasn't there. And then just you have these experienced teams like Ohio State and Chattanooga who played very well. Go up and down the court and be able to take us to the hole and score and get the and ones. They were also shooting way better from 3 points. It just looked like we were outclassed. Like we were good. We were happy to be there, but there was no way that we can compete with these bigger schools. For Notre Dame, it just it's just sad to see them get out. They played so well to get into the tournament, and then to lose. So. Unfortunately, I think the Notre Dame women are still in it, and we'll watch women's Notre Dame basketball.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame women usually kill it. I mean, they usually ended up in the Final Four and Sweet 16, so that'll be interesting to watch. But we see this every year, and the Cinderella story of the tournament so far has been the number 15 St. Peter's Peacocks.
Say what?
Out of New Jersey. Yeah, you heard what I said, Kofi Coburn. Yeah, St. Peter's Peacocks. That is so much alliteration there. Out of New Jersey, they stunned number 2 Kentucky and John Calipari's slimy ass in the first round, 85-79, and then they went on to beat number 7 Murray State in the second round. These were St. Peter's first 2 wins in the NCAA tournament history, so they are moving on. It'll be interesting to see what this team does. I didn't even look at the bracket because I don't want to be too depressed watching my bracket get busted, especially with losers like Iowa and some of those other teams that just failed and pissed down their leg. Yeah, thanks, Kentucky. But, yeah, I mean, I'm always – at this point with all the local teams out, including the very local Notre Dame, as you stated earlier, it'll be interesting to root for a little team and a little school out of New Jersey.
Definitely. Always got to love these Cinderella stories. Every year there's one that's going to come out there, like Loyola a few seasons ago, and you got Sister Mary and her throwing the first pitch and doing all this cool stuff because they had such a good run. There's always a good Cinderella story. Sister Jean, Mary, Jean, they're all the same thing. Name them whatever.
Hey, y'all looked at me so weird last time we were on talking about her, but this at least I got her name right, man.
She's 100. She probably answers to Mary anyways.
Oh my god.
She probably sees Virgin Mary all the time.
Oh man. All right,
fans, let's take a pause for the cause, and we'll be right back with more Loop after these messages.
We all know that 2020 was no joke. And with an ever-changing world climate, many people are looking for a new opportunity. Guys, are you looking for a career that rewards effort and makes you feel valued as a team member? Let me tell you a little about our friends at ACSI. ACSI is a certified RCN business agent. They provide the same RCN services with a personalized touch. Their sales and technician teams work hand in hand, ensuring your experience will be smooth and pleasant. Gone are the days of being transferred from one person to the next. At ACSI, they handle everything from start to finish. It's never been so easy to get internet service. ACSI is a growing Chicagoland company that encourages personal growth and rewards perseverance. As they expand, they're looking for passionate, responsible, and honest professionals to join their team. A career with ACSI means you will be part of a hardworking, flexible, and dynamic team that is a leader in the installation of cable and internet services in the Chicagoland area. Best of all, ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year Award. Are you ready to grow with a local Chicago company on the rise? Check out acsi.tech and click on careers to get started. That's acsi.tech and click on careers.
Hey, this is Mikey O, and you're listening to the True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast. Don't forget to visit Mikey O at Mikey O Show or www.MikeyOShow.com.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. What's going on with the Chicago Cubs?
Well, like I kept saying for weeks, the Carlos Correa sweet cheeks.
Sweet cheeks. Whoa, whoa. This show just took a turn.
Well, like I've been saying for weeks, the Chicago Cubs were going to get Carlos Correa, and the Cubs did not win the Carlos Correa sweepstakes. He ended up going over to the Twins on a really weird 3-year deal. I think it's an option after the first one, and it's like $35 million a year. But let's take a quick look at the free agency tracker as it currently stands. We did talk about the biggest free agent, of course, being Carlos Correa. He signed a 3-year deal with 2 opt-outs, which is very bizarre. So he moves over from the Houston Astros up to the Twinkies, man, your favorite team in Minnesota.
Not at all. I would rather him gone to the Cubs because we don't have to play each other all the rest of the year. I mean, besides the 2 little series. But him on the Twinkies, and they have a really good team, man. They always have, they're nasty. I just hate them. They're just annoying. So I'd rather that he would have signed with the Cubs and you be happy and Cubs fans be happy, and we only have to play them twice a year rather than the Twinkies.
Yeah, one of the young players from your second favorite team, Corey Seager, who seemed to fall out of favor with the Dodgers after they traded for the Nationals. What's his name? Shit. I had his name in Trey Turner. That guy. So yeah, they got Trey Turner over from the Nats, and Corey Seager ends up going over to the Texas Rangers for a 10-year deal. This is very Rangers-like.
This is very Rangers-like. Remember the last time that they had somebody with a 10-year deal? It didn't really work out for them.
No. Who was that?
A-Rod.
Oh, man.
That really did not work out for the Rangers. So the Rangers do Ranger things, and they spend money very stupidly. They also signed Marcus Semien on a 7-year deal, and he plays second base and shortstop, and Corey Seager plays shortstop. So there's your double play duo for the next 7 years, unless one of them gets traded.
I mean, look, that was the hot name on the market. I mean, Marcus Semien is 31 years old, so, he does have a little bit of age in him. But, I mean, we look at the way that baseball players go now. We see some of these players going until they're in their late 30s, but I think 35 is kind of that max. So even with a 7-year deal, they'll probably really only get maybe 4, maybe 5 good years out of him. Yeah. But one player that did get another 7-year deal was former Cub Chris Bryant. He got a 7-year deal out of the Colorado Rockies. This is a pretty stacked contract. 7 years, $182 million with a 7-year, $70 million signing bonus. So that gives him an average of $26 million a year. What do you think about this contract for Bryant?
It's good for him. A 7-year deal at the age of 30. That means he's going to play there till he's 37, unless again he's traded. And you have to remember that now the National League from this point on will have a DH. So if he needs a day off and you still need the bat, he can DH. Do I think this is the best place for him to win? No, because Colorado does this Colorado things. And they've signed a bunch of players for 1 or 2 years, and then they get rid of them, or they develop talent that doesn't end up doing anything. I think that he got his payday, and that's what it was all about. Because if I remember correctly, when they were trying to extend Bryant on the Cubs, it would have been for more money. For every single one of those guys that signed, they would have got more money with the Cubs if they would have re-signed compared to what they signed for now.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, I think Bryant was he got just about what the Cubs were originally going to offer him. I want to say at the time it was something like a 8-year deal. But don't forget, it was either during or right after that 2016 World Series that they did offer him that. So we were talking about 6-7 years in the past at this point. But yeah, I mean, look, it was a very interesting team for him to go to. I was kind of surprised of all teams that's where he ended up going, but I guess he's just trying to pad his stats at this point. He'll always be known as one of the most integral parts of the World Series. When he won the MVP with the Cubs. He was the Rookie of the Year, and he did have a little bit of sore feelings considering the fact that they held him down to get that one extra year out of him when he was first coming up with the Cubs. So I mean, he might be a little bit salty about that. But look, you're making your money. You just got married. I think. I'm not sure if it's him or someone else is getting ready to have a baby, and good for you. Make your money, but it was just a very odd choice, because I'm sure that there was other teams out there that he could have gone to and win with. But I feel like now being on a team with like Colorado, there's not that much pressure on him to win, so he could just go out there and kind of swing his bat and do his thing.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Oh, good news! My second team signed one of the biggest free agents in Freddie Freeman. Signs a 6-year deal with the Dodgers. And funny enough, because the Braves were his first team, his first love, and they were like, oh, we love Freddie Freeman and Freddie Freeman appreciation and all this stuff. And then Freddie Freeman came out and said during the free agency, they called me twice. Everyone else was blowing up my phone, especially the Dodgers. They were calling me like every other day, but the Braves only called me twice. And then the Braves make that move and make that trade for Matt Olson and then extend him. And this is while they were still trying to pursue Freddie Freeman. So that tells you what the Braves are doing, what they had in mind. But their loss is our gain. So the Dodgers literally have an all-star team in all of the 7 positions on the field.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie Freeman made out pretty well for himself considering the fact that he's 32 years old. He signed a 6-year, $162 million contract. It gives him an average of $27 million a year, and it's going to leave him as a unrestricted free agent over in 2028. And at that point, he might be a guy with a lot of teams look for the DH. But yeah, I mean, look, $27 million a year. I mean, you can't really knock that. And I'm pretty sure, and that's every single year up until his age 38 year. So I mean, I think that what happened was the Braves looking at a guy who's 32 years old. Matt Olson is about 4 years younger. I think he makes a little bit less money, and they're looking at all the other players that they already got locked up. Unfortunately there was an injury to, I think, Ozuna, but they got Ozzie Albies. They got a few players on that team that they have already locked up. So I think what they're doing is yes, while they love Freddie Freeman, looking at a 32-year-old, they want to go ahead and try to expand their winning window, I guess, because the Dodgers right now, when you talk about them being an all-star team, Freddie Freeman can come in there, compete for the next couple of years, try to win them another title, try to win them a legitimate 162 game season title versus the shortened season, because that's what people are still talking about when they talk about the Dodgers winning the title, and try to rejuvenate that team and just put a big shot in the arm, because like I said, with them losing Corey Seager, they're looking for someone to look towards the future, because once they kind of fall out of love with you, they just let you go by the wayside. They don't give you a chance to recoup.
No, not at all. All right, any other guys that you want to mention? I know you probably want to mention somebody who plays in Detroit now.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Javi Baez right there. I think the interesting thing about Javi Baez is the fact that now you talk about a very good shortstop in Detroit, and you also talk about a very good shortstop in Minnesota now. So that's to me, it's a big task to see what's going to go on with them when they have to face the White Sox, how the White Sox is going to handle some of these very good defensive and offensive players. Let's go down right here. Max Scherzer signed a 3-year deal at 37 years of age, coming off of that big contract he previously signed with the Nationals, got traded over to the Dodgers last year, and he signs a 3-year deal with the Mets, which is interesting. I think he's just looking for a home. We saw Marcus Stroman come out for his first spring training game for the Cubs, and he signed a 3-year deal with us. He's 30 years old, and this right now, he looks like he's in his prime. He's doing pretty well. Another player that I know that a lot of Cubs fans were looking forward to possibly signing is Trevor Story. He went over and signed a 6-year deal with the Boston Red Sox. That was a little bit surprising to me because, I think there's a lot of teams out there that were looking for that help, but it's good for him to get his money. I think that Colorado fell out of love with him, and it's the funny thing about Colorado is the fact that they got rid of Nolan Arenado and ended up replacing him with Chris Bryant. I thought that was a little interesting. What do you think about that?
That is very interesting because they were supposed to be trading for each other a couple years ago. I do remember that being one of the hot stove takes that. They're going to trade Chris Bryant for Trevor Story and the money and this and that. So it is funny that it actually did happen, not the way they planned it, but now that Colorado really doesn't have that of an exciting team. And also Chris Bryant's on the other side of 30. A couple things that I do want to talk about is Philadelphia. Philadelphia signed Nick Castellanos. He's 30. He signed a 5-year deal. And they signed Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber signs there for a 4-year deal. This is crazy because Kyle Schwarber obviously can play outfield now, plays first base, and he's most likely going to be the DH there. But you also have Castellanos, and you have Chris Bryant's best friend over there. You know that guy?
Yeah, Bryce Harper.
Yeah,
you know, Castellanos, he's another guy that I know that the White Sox fans were looking forward to hopefully bringing him in the mix. I mean, like you said, he is 30 years old. He's right in his prime right now. He did not really work out with Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati thought they had more than they actually did when they went for it, when they signed him a couple years ago, and he opted out of that contract. But, you know, I think a lot of Cubs fans a couple years ago were hoping that he would come back to them too, because at the time he was only, 27, 28 years old coming over from Detroit. And yeah, unfortunately, just because of the way everything broke down with the Cubs and they really couldn't find their way back, he went over to Cincy. But he gets a 5-year, $100 million deal, which gives him $20 million a year. And look, I mean, like I said, for a guy who I never even heard of until he came over to the Cubs, good for him. Make your money. I mean, you know, you're not getting these crazy contracts that some of these other guys, but, you know, good for you to go ahead and get $20 million a year. And if that's what they deem him to be, you know, worth, then that's what it is. A couple other players here. You got Kershaw came back to the Dodgers. Verlander went back to the Houston Astros. Syndergaard moves over from the Mets to the LA Angels. Kelly Jansen leaves his longtime home of the Dodgers to move on to the Braves. And Rizzo went ahead and signed another contract with the New York Yankees. He signed a 2-year deal over with the Yankees. So, you know, I think it's a good spot for him. I think he's comfortable there, and I think he's a very good first baseman. So there's no surprise that he would stay with that club.
No, I wasn't surprised that he signed there. I think he's a good fit for those young guys that are there. He's a staple, and I wish he stayed on the Cubs and he would have retired as a Cub, just because he's such a good first baseman. He's a good guy. He's good in the community. He's going to continue doing that with New York, and I think he's just a good fit there and a good leader. The other name that I was worried about signing is Michael Conforto, where I heard a lot of buzz at the beginning of the free agency, and it's all fizzled out. He still has no team, and he was rumored to go to the White Sox a couple years ago in a trade, and now he's a free agent, and I don't know what they're going to do, because the White Sox do have like 4 outfielders that are young. You got Gavin Sheets, you've got Eloy Jimenez, you got Andrew Vaughn, Adam Engel, Lou Robert. You've got a bunch of guys, and I don't know what they're going to do. So even if they do sign somebody, where do you fit them?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is that, you know, I think right now White Sox are just trying to find where they can slot a lot of these guys in. There's a lot of uncertainty on that White Sox team. When you look at some of the younger guys, I mean, they did re-sign Luis Garcia over with another 3-year deal. I think a lot of fans are still looking to see what's going on with Gavin Sheets and some of this pitching too. I mean, we talked about how strong the Sox bullpen in. I mean, you look at what they did. They brought in Kendall Graveman, Joe Kelly, and you know, I think that shores up. And we're still waiting to see what they're going to do with Kimbrel. But you know, one name that I thought was very interesting. It was a guy that both the White Sox and the Cubs were looking at one point. It was Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler, you know, we talked about him a lot when Mike Rodriguez came on the show, because, you know, he had so much information about him, but he ended up signing a 3-year deal with the Marlins. And this is a $12 million a year salary. He will make 12 this year, 15 the next year, and then 9 the year after that. So it'll be interesting to see if he can go ahead and reprise his role as a DH. But there's a lot of players out there just switching teams. I think, you know, this is kind of what we expected, but we saw a lot of guys jumping ship and a lot of these long-term deals. And, you know, I don't think that either side of town, aside from the Suzuki signing, I don't think either side of town made that big of a splash.
No, I agree with you. I think the Cubs did a great job by snagging Suzuki. I think that's a great addition to the Cubs because it's not a signing for this year, because the Cubs are not going to compete for the title this year. They're going to make sure that they are aligned with good salary cap and so forth for the next couple years, because you have a bunch of these young guys coming up. You got the 4 guys that I can't remember their names right now because they were so young. They were like 16, 17, and 18 when they got traded for Yu Darvish. Now those guys are coming up, and they're making some splashes. You also have the shortstop from who you drafted from Chicago that should be coming up pretty soon.
Ed Howard.
Yeah, Ed Howard. Yeah, you have that kid coming up. You have talent that's gonna continue to rise. It's just not gonna be next year, and so you're gonna have that mix of young and then sign some veterans in the next couple of years that are gonna complement that. Again, the Cubs have not really built any pitching. They've really built a lot of talent on the field and bought pitching. So that if they're going to continue that same strategy, I think they can be around in about 2 to 3 years. They'll be contending.
I think with what the Cubs have right now, I think they definitely have some very interesting pieces. I think they've set themselves up for some good wins and games in the future. And you look at the top of the rotation, you got Hendricks and now you got Stroman. Now, how is the rest of that going to fill out? That's a damn good question. I know Alex Mills is probably going to be in the mix too, but don't forget you still have Patrick Wisdom. You still got your boy Madrigal coming over and really getting his first taste of what it's like to be with the Chicago Cubs. I mean, you still got Wilson Contreras trying to figure out what's going to go on with him, if they're going to try to trade him at the trade deadline this year, or they're going to try to extend him. Personally, I think you try to extend him, because to me, he's like Yadier Molina. You know what I mean? Like, you sit there and use him to try to build up your pitching staff, make him the boss of your pitchers, essentially, make him the quarterback of the team, because, you know, especially a guy with that much passion, with that much leadership and loyalty to the Cubs, I think that you do whatever you can to keep this guy in your organization and help out that pitching staff, because, you know, look at some of the players that they've put on the field. It looks like they're hoping that I think the Cubs could be sneaky. I don't think they're going to win a ton of games, but I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on some of these teams that are built to win right now, and I think they're going to smack some people around without them really knowing what hit them.
No, I agree with you that he is a cornerstone, and if you want to continue to build your team, you got to have him as your veteran presence, him as your guy that's going to teach these young pitchers how to pitch, and then teach them how to become a major league pitcher. You do have a lot of talent that's coming up pretty soon, and I think that the Cubs are going to be sneaky good when it comes to being competitive this year in some of these games. They're not going to be the Pirates where they're going to get their ass with 15-6 every game, but they are going to be competitive because they still have a pretty good pitching staff. 1, 2, and 3 is that 4 and 5 spot that you have a lot of questions in.
Yeah, and the Cubs also did snag veteran infielder Jonathan Villar, and they grabbed Michael Givens, a pitcher that a lot of their former Cubs did not like too much. They brought him over in the bullpen, and they also brought over from the Mets Robert Selman. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. They got a couple of veterans in the mix. They got their rookies, they got the young guys, and look, it looks like the Cubs believe in Suzuki. I mean, they gave him basically a 5-year, $100 million deal when you include the posting fee. So it's basically about like $17 million a year that he's going to end up getting, and he also gets a full no trade clause from the Cubs, which is rare. But you know, they want him to be comfortable. They want him to know, we believe in you. We want you to be here. We think that you're a cornerstone piece. And considering the fact that with Japanese guys, they're right now, that when they usually come over to the MLB, it's because they're in their prime. So they're hoping that they can stretch it out a little longer, especially what happened with Ichiro. Ichiro played so late into his career, but he was still a factor late in the career. So, yeah, so the interesting thing about Suzuki is that this is the first really substantial contract for a Japanese position player since Kosuke Fukudome, who signed with the Cubs 15 years ago. And he's actually still killing it out there in the Japanese league. I mean, like, he's sitting there smacking the homers out there, and he's still playing. So I think he plays for the Dragons out there. So Yeah, I mean, good for Kosuke. And look, I'm happy to see the Cubs get a guy that a lot of teams were very interested in. And I think this is one of the reasons. If he can do what he does, it'll be interesting. I think he hit something like 38 homers last year in the Japanese league. So the Cubs have some pieces that'll be competitive. I just don't know how far they'll go. But like I said, I think they're going to be able to smack some guys in the mouth without them knowing what him.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it'll be competitive. I think you have some good talent out there, especially with the guys who got a lot of playing time at the end of last season, like Frank the Tank and Wisdom, and you have a lot of guys who got a lot of exposure, and you got to see what they can do, and that's why they kept some of these guys, because they were like, okay, you showed us what you got. You could probably be there for a couple of years, and like I said, in a couple of years, you'll have a lot of young talent coming up to the major leagues, and then you can complement it with a bunch of veterans, and that's where you can go spend your money, because they have biblical proportions and they're making their money up.
Yeah, I mean, look, biblical proportions aside, I think that the Cubs, I think everyone's thirsty and hungry for them hot dogs to go back to baseball. So I don't think the Cubs will have anything to complain about when it comes to the concessions and the money that they're going to make in the season. We just got to see what's going to happen. I mean, like, it'll be, put it this way, this is the first time in a long time that it'll be very interesting to see what's going to go on both sides of the town. There's a lot of pressure on the Southsiders with a couple of the moves that they've made and a couple of moves that they didn't make to rely and believe in the guys that you already have. And, like I said, there's no pressure on the Cubs right now. David Ross just got his contract extension. So all he has to do is not run the rig off the road and do your thing, man. See what happens. See what you look like coming out the other side.
Yeah, agreed. He's got no pressure now because he's got his contract. He knows that he's gonna be here for a while until these guys mature.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm excited for baseball, and I'm excited that baseball's back.
Me too. All right, fans, let's take a pause for the cause, and we'll be right back after our. All right, fans, let's take a pause for the cause, and we'll be right back with our new segment, The Bottom Line, after a quick word from our sponsors.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride, so do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Hey guys, this is Mike Deportes, and you're listening to True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah.
This is The Bottom Line.
And that's the bottom line.
In this segment, we discussed the biggest Chicago sports topic of the week, and this week, it's our beloved Chicago Bears and the rebuild.
Yeah, man, Ryan Poles has been very busy, and it turns out the biggest splash free agency addition that the Bears thought they had is not going to work out after all, because defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi will not be joining the Bears. The 6-year pro and unrestricted free agent who had agreed to a 3-year contract earlier last week failed his physical administered by the team on last Thursday. Bears GM Ryan Poles released the following statement. As I said before, Larry Ogunjobi embodies everything we're looking for in a Bear. He is a special person and player. During the league's negotiating window earlier this week, we agreed to terms with him, subject to him passing a physical. After a standard and thorough physical and medical review with Larry yesterday afternoon, our medical team deemed him to have failed his physical, and therefore, unfortunately, we are not signing him today. This is difficult and is emotional for everyone involved, but ultimately it's what's in the best interest of protecting the Chicago Bears. Z, any thoughts about them rescinding their offer?
I mean, I think this is kind of weird. One, obviously, you got to protect your organization by signing someone who is capable of doing their job, and that's number one and foremost. But what really perks up my ears is what part of the physical did he fail? Does he have a heart condition? Does he have a lung condition? I mean, is he missing, 2 toes? How do you fail a physical? Is he completely out of shape? I mean, he just played this season. So what are the main points of the physical? Did he fail? And then, go ahead.
Yeah, so the thing with him is that in the third quarter of their playoff win over Vegas, he had a really bad foot injury that required surgery, and that was just on January 22nd. So on January 18th, I'm sorry. So I think that's what it is. He just wasn't quite ready. I think he needs more time to heal, and because he is a UFA, that means that he could sign with anyone. They could, if they wanted to, they could have actually still signed him and had some type of designation on him, I believe. But I think to me, this is the way I look at it. You're looking at a first-year GM trying to put a team together, and you don't want his first big free agent acquisition to be a guy that's injured. So you look at what happened with the Ryan Pace era. You look at Tevin Jenkins being injured. You look at some of the other injuries that he sat on. You look at Kevin White had I think he had a weird injury in college, and they took him anyway. Eddie Jackson, for example, had a really bad injury his last year at Alabama, and they went ahead and drafted him anyway, much later than he was projected to go. But I think it's smart. It's a smart move by this brand new GM trying to make sure that, you know what, I appreciate what you do. I can't sign you right now. And, unfortunately, I'd love to have you in the mix, but this is what it is. And it's a smart move for a young guy, man.
No, I am really liking what he is doing at the moment. I mean, he's traded veterans, he's cut veterans. He's trimming a lot of the fat that Pace left on this team. He's these guys that weren't producing, like we're going to talk about in a little bit, weren't producing. Those guys got to go. If you weren't helping us this year, or if you were sitting on the bench and weren't doing anything, and you're collecting a check, a pretty sizable check, Tariq Cohen, you've got, again, we got receivers that really didn't partake in the offense. You've got offensive and defensive linemen that they were not healthy all the time. And guess what? We need you for 16 games. We don't need you for 4 games in 2 years.
Well, the good news is that in place of Ogunjobi, the Bears signed tackle Justin Jones to a 2-year contract worth $12 million. The 25-year-old was selected by the Chargers in the 3rd round of the 2018 draft out of North Carolina State. The Bears also added another edge rusher in Al-Quadin Muhammad, who signed a 2-year deal worth $10 million. He reunites with former Colts DC and Bears new coach, the Floos, Matt Eberflus. So, I mean, look, it looks like Poles already had a couple of guys in hand, or he probably had his list right here. Ogunjobi was number 1, Justin Jones number 2, and Muhammad coming over, I'm sure, on the advice of the Floos, bringing him over. So, I mean, they do know what they're doing. They're bringing over a couple of guys for that defensive front.
Yeah, how old was Larry Ogunjobi? How old was he?
I think 28.
Okay, so he's just a little bit older than Justin Jones.
And it's just that he was just a very good player for them last year, and it was just an unfortunate thing because this guy, I think if it wasn't for that broken foot, he would have been signed up before the Bears ever got a chance.
Yeah, it makes sense. But it looks like you said, he had his board ready, and he had his top 5 guys on that board for tackle. And then he went on and moved on to the edge rusher, which is something that, they gave away with Mac, or not gave away, but they traded with Mac. So they have to replace that as well. And then somebody who they actually have, some kind of contact and some type of relationship with Muhammad, who played for Matt. So I think these are good signings because they know what they had, and they seen good film, especially with Justin Jones and the Chargers. So we know that the Chargers were very good. They had a good offensive line and defensive line. So I think these signings are really good.
Yeah, and they're young and they're not paying a ton. I mean, you're talking about $6 million a year, $5 billion a year. They're not paying a ton to these guys. One big name that I know a lot of Bears fans were waiting on, and it is Allen Robinson. Well, the Allen Robinson era in Chicago is now over as he signed with the LA Rams. He signed a 3-year, $46.5 million contract with the LA Rams, including $30.7 million guaranteed. Now, this is less than what the Bears offered him previously, and he played last year for $18 million on the franchise tag, and their offer to him was around $16 million this season, and he felt that it was disrespectful. Look, to me, in my opinion, it kind of shows that he is not a number one wide receiver. One of the big things that I talked about last year and his entire time here was the fact that he's never been that fast. He never got that open, and he jumped at weird times. Mm-hmm. And he was another one of these guys that the Bears got on a pretty decent deal, considering the fact that he was coming off of that torn ACL when he's with Jaguars. So his time with the Bears, it was very reminiscent and indicative of what Ryan Pace liked to do, because he loved these injured guys. He's like, well, they'll get better one day, and we just talked about that. Tevin Jenkins right there. You want to talk about another injured guy, but Allen Robinson right now, he's going to be number 3.
Yeah, he's
number 2.
Definitely number 3.
You got Cooper Kupp. You got Cooper Kupp over there. Odell Beckham tore his ACL in the Super Bowl. Jarvis Landry still needs a home, and he might sign over there. So and they just shipped Robert Woods off. So look, to me, Robinson is not a number 1. I'm sorry. I mean, I think he's going to do a lot better in a better system, more explosive system. So people are like, well, watch what he does next year. Yes, they're a better team. He has better offensive weapons around him to take the pressure off of him. He doesn't have to jump up 6 feet in the air and catch a ball at his shoelaces for some reason. There's no reason to be up in the air and catch a ball in the breadbasket. If you're going to catch a ball in the air, catch it at its highest point, because that's where you jump to. He was just so bad with his timing and jumping that, I appreciated what he was able to do here. But I mean, he was very frustrating to watch sometimes, and especially considering the fact that he quit on the Bears at the end of the season.
Yeah, he did quit. And one thing that I do think is that I think he should have signed with one of those bigger quarterbacks, like maybe a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers, one of those guys that likes to dump the ball off on third down over the middle. One of those quarterbacks that likes looking over the middle for a receiver. And that's exactly what he is. He's a number 3 receiver who's going to be open most of the time because of the pressure that the number 1 and number 2 are going to impose on the defense. So he's just going to sneak over the middle, over the linebacker, and just toss it over there. He's going to get another 5 yards, for yak. But him jumping when the ball is literally thrown in his breadbasket, that drove me wild.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating, but it looks like A-Rob did have a good time as far as he's trying to tell us here in Chicago, even though he looked very frustrated at times. He came out with a statement, and he says, I want to express my deepest gratitude to the Chicago Bears organization. It was truly an honor to play for your storied franchise. To the McCaskey family, coaches, and front office staff, thank you for your belief in me, and thank you for the opportunity. To the brothers I gained in the locker room, it was an honor to suit up and play beside you. The bond we have is forever, and I look forward to seeing all the success in store for you. To my foundation board, your support has been invaluable. All we have accomplished would not be possible without you. And finally, to the fans and city of Chicago, thank you for embracing my family and me. So many of my greatest football moments were on Soldier Field, surrounded by the passion radiating from you. Those memories will never be forgotten. Bears Nation, you will always have a special place in my heart. Thank you for everything. Classy words from this guy. As far as the way he interacted with fans and media and stuff like that, you never really saw anything out of him, but you did see him give up. So real quick, tell me what you think about his time in Chicago.
I think his time in Chicago was pretty much like his time in Jacksonville. He had a bad quarterback throwing to him. He had a bad offensive coordinator. He missed time jump balls. He missed routes. He didn't have separation. But in Chicago, the biggest thing is you got to have, like you said, heart, hustle, and muscle. And Chicago will back you 1,000%. We've seen it with multiple teams of our professional teams. If you got that heart, hustle, and muscle, you will be a Chicago sports legend for life. Tom Waddle has made a living of getting his ass whooped for the Bears. He's on the radio right now. Is he funny and hilarious on the radio? Yeah, he is. He's a great character. Did he have amazing stats with the Bears? No. But every time they threw the ball at him, he caught it and then got creamed. But he never dropped the ball. And that's why we loved him, because he had the heart, hustle, and muscle.
Yeah, I mean, Waddle was that scrappy white dude, right? Don Beebe.
Yeah.
Right? He was Don Beebe. He was Wes Welker. He was Julian Edelman. You know what I mean? Like, he was Cooper Kupp. He's the scrappy white guy now. I mean, if you ask him, he's going to admit that most of those guys are better than him. But, because he was in the Bears uniform, and because a lot of times I think he came either 1 or 2 years after the Bears won the Super Bowl, he most of the time he gets mixed in with the rest of the Super Bowl champs. That's the running joke, is that, Super Bowl winning wide receiver Tom Waddle.
We missed it by 1 year.
Yeah. Hey, it happens. But the Bears did turn to the free agent market to fill some of their wide receiver needs. They had some interest in Juju Smith-Schuster, formerly of my second favorite team, the Steelers, but he ended up signing with KC. And according to Michael Fabiano, the Bears were also very interested in wide receiver Robert Woods before he was traded to the Tennessee Titans for a 6th-round pick next year. That seems like a wasted opportunity, but again, injured. He was off of injury. Ryan Poles is avoiding hurt players. So instead, they signed a pair of wide receivers, first bringing in unrestricted free agent receiver Byron Pringle for a 1-year contract worth $4 million. It is a prove it deal. Prove it, see what you can do. He's only 28, and he spent his first 4 NFL seasons with the Chiefs after signing with KC as an undrafted free agent in 2017 out of K-State. After missing his entire rookie season due to an injury he sustained in the preseason finale, Pringle appeared in 46 games with 8 starts in the past 3 seasons. So I remember him being injured because he was one of these guys that I would pick up on for fantasy football. Well, fantasy football, and just kind of let him sit there. But I didn't realize he was there for that long. So this guy is about 6'1", being around all those very speedy receivers over in Kansas City. You hope that, he learned some really good, clear and crisp route running, because that's one thing that Darnell Mooney is actually pretty good at. So as long as they get their routes good, that means that, Justin Fields is going to have really good timing with these guys. So, pretty young, 28 years old. Let's see what he can do. You only get a 1-year, $4 million deal. And, it'll be interesting. They also signed free agent wideout Equanimeous St. Brown on a 1-year contract. We don't know what the cost of that contract is at that time. He is a younger guy. He's 25 years old. He was selected by the Packers in the 6th round of the 2018 draft out of the one and only Notre Dame University. He appeared in 37 games with 10 starts over 3 seasons. He missed the whole 2019 campaign, which is a interesting theme here. He did have an ankle injury in that year. So both of the guys that they drafted or that they brought in as free agents missed an entire season at some point in their career. His brother Amon-Ra St. Brown was drafted by the Lions last year. A lot of people are saying that is the better St. Brown, so hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully we get the good guy. And fun fact about them, their father, John Brown, was a bodybuilder who won Mr. Universe twice and Mr. World 3 times. So strength runs in the family. Very cool names runs in the family. Hopefully route running and touchdowns runs in the family as well.
These are the great pickups. These are great pickups for the Bears because they're short-term contracts. They don't cost a lot, and we get to see what these speedy guys can do. And they're coming from proven organizations. So right now, what we're seeing is that Justin Fields is going to be the priority is getting him protected, so he has time to throw down the field for these speedy receivers with Mooney and St. Brown and Mr. Pringles. You're going to have a lot of receivers now. We know Mooney's not a number 1, so where's our number 1 receiver, man?
Well, I mean, I think we know what they're doing right now. They're trying out who is available right now, right? They look at the draft right now, and when you look forward to what the Bears are going to be, they're not really looking towards this season. I think right now, this year, when the draft comes up at the end of next month, their big targets are going to be offensive linemen, even though they are going after one like a another guy that they just picked off of that Packers roster. They took away an unrestricted free agent interior offensive lineman Lucas Patrick on a 2-year deal worth $8 million. Again, a nice, cheap contract. Patrick is 28 years old. He spent his first 6 seasons with the Packers, appearing in 73 games with 34 starts. He is 6'3", 313 pounds. He originally signed with Green Bay back in 2016 as another undrafted free agent from Duke. He's going to end up playing center for the Bears, and with Patrick in the mix, this offensive line is starting to shape up a little bit. They brought back Sam Mustipher and Arlington Hambright, and they also will be relying on second-year players Larry Barham and Tevin Jenkins, because Alex Bars signed with the Raiders and James Daniels signed with Pittsburgh. Now, I know a lot of fans were very curious about the fact that they didn't try to retain James Daniels' service the year before. He had a torn pec and he was out for the year about halfway through the 2020 season. And we did not hear his name a lot last year, which means he didn't get a lot of penalties. But Alex Bars and Mustipher coming over from Notre Dame, they were kind of a couple of guys that they relied on, as I think they were both either low-round draft picks or unrestricted free agent, undrafted free agent draft players that the Bears brought in. But right now they're looking at Jenkins, who was supposed to be kind of a blue chipper kind of guy. Like I said before, with Pace, he loved those injured guys. And Borum was another guy that they actually saw pretty good results out of last year, but these guys really need to bring it together because this whole line is young right now. So they might be going after a few more guys, but they got young man Patrick again from the Packers, which, the Packers are losing players left and right, man.
Yeah, what it looks like is that, up there in Cheeseland, one person got all the cheese and everyone else got left with crumbs. And everyone's starting to see that someone's a sports diva needs to be told that they're pretty every day. So everyone else is going to be like jumping ship. Like, you know what? I can't play with this dude if he's all about cashing the check off for himself and leaving no money for everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, we saw your boy, somebody's boy, not my boy, maybe your boy, I don't know, Aaron took the whole bag for himself last week. He says, I'm taking all the Doritos and the crumbs and the bag, everything. And he left his boy, Devontae Adams, out in the cold. So he got traded over to the LA Raiders for a first and a second round pick this year. He immediately signed a 5-year, $140 million contract, and he reunites with his college quarterback, Derek Carr. They both played back at Fresno State before being drafted in 2014. I mean, honestly, I was surprised at this. Did you see this coming at all? I mean, how do you think this is going to affect the Bears with the Packers losing one of the best wide receivers in football?
First, they're in Vegas now. They moved from LA to Vegas, so they flipped the A to a V. And and now they're definitely, there's no way anybody saw this happening. Everyone saw that he got tagged by the organization and they were working on a contract, but they were so far apart and there was so much bad blood because he was mad that he got Aaron Rodgers got all the money and then they had to play him on the franchise tag and he was not going to play on a franchise tag. So your organization does what they're supposed to do and make themselves better. And they went and they got a trade and sent him over to the Raiders over there in Vegas. And you know what? Vegas is starting to look like a really good team in the AFC. But again, we said it earlier on this show that the AFC is stacked from top to bottom, except for the Jaguars.
Yeah, I mean, we take a quick look at the full roundup of players that have either come or gone for the Bears. Pat O'Donnell, their former punter, is now with the Green Bay Packers. We talked about James Daniels, Alex Bars, and also Bilal Nichols went over to the Raiders, joining some of these guys we're talking about right now. And another piece is Jakeem Grant, who they traded for mid-season to be their returner after they figured out that your boy Tariq Cohen was not coming back. He is now with the Cleveland Browns. There was a lot of players here that they did not bring back. Damian Williams is no longer with the team. I know he signed somewhere else. I don't know where yet. Currently, the players that had their contract expired and currently do not have a deal with the Bears. Elijah Wilkinson from the offensive line, I believe he was drafted along with Hambright. Tease Tabor, whoever the hell that guy is. Running back Ryan Nall. Linebacker Alec Ogletree, who I really liked, and I'm interested to see where he's going because I think he's going to find a nice situation for himself. The very old man Jason Peters is no longer on the team. Cassius Marsh, who famously had that long hair and threw some shit at the Steelers. Christian Jones, who they originally drafted and went over to the Lions a few years ago, is no longer with the team. Jesse James is a free agent that they got from, I believe, the Steelers last year. Another name that is very familiar to Bears fans, Jermaine Ifedi, no longer with the Bears. He is currently unrestricted free agent. Bruce Irvin, who they signed later on in the year, and Joel Aigibunue, that's how you're going to say that today. That's how that's going to go. Another one is Margus Hunt. Never heard of that guy. J.P. Holtz, the tight end who we saw a lot in preseason games. Hakeem Hicks has not signed anywhere yet. And a couple of other names that we know. Marquise Goodwin, I'm wondering if they're going to look at him at all because he was a cheap option they can bring in, and he knows Justin Fields already. Tayshaun Gibson, a very good cornerback coming out, and we'll see what he can do and see if the Bears take a look at him because they did bring back Houston Carson on a deal, and so they're still going to need that defensive back help. One other, your favorite player, Jimmy Graham, no longer with the team. Andy Dalton, unrestricted. Xavier Crawford, Marquis Christian, Deion Bush, Artie Burns, and the other name that you might be familiar with is Damiere Byrd, the wide receiver that was originally with the Patriots. So a lot of players that they did not bring back. Real quick, who else? Sorry. Jesper Horsted back in the mix. Jesper Horsted, the other kind of weird named tight end. DeAndre Houston Carson, like I said, I might have said his name wrong first time, but I said it right this time. Sam Mustipher coming back with Alex Bars going over to the Raiders, like I said. Latavius Simmons is also back in the mix. And then Patrick Scales, who is their long snapper. And last but not least, the full list of the most recent free agents. Justin Jones came over from the LA Chargers. Nick Morrow is a player that came over from the Raiders as opposed to all of our players going over to the Raiders, and he's going to play linebacker for the Bears. Muhammad, we talked about a little bit earlier, and then, of course, St. Brown Patrick and Myron Pringle. So that is a quick breakdown of the free agency tracker with the Bears, and it'll be interesting to see what else they add and what they're going to do at the end of free agency. But I'll tell you what, if Ryan Poles is doing his job, the entire thing is going to be affected by what he does in the draft. He is saving a shit ton, a metric shit ton of elephant shit, the biggest shit you can find. He's saving all of that for next year's free agency class because he's going to be sitting on a lot of free agent money, a lot of cap space with everyone coming off the books that he got rid of last year. Let me tell you some polls. This is your trial run. Next year, you better show us what you got. And that's the bottom line.
And that's the bottom line.
All right, fans, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
We all know that 2020 was no joke, and with an ever-changing world climate, many people are looking for a new opportunity. Guys, are you looking for a career that rewards effort and makes you feel valued as a team member? Let me tell you a little about our friends at ACSI. ACSI is a certified RCN business agent. They provide the same RCN services with a personalized touch. Their sales and technician teams work hand in hand, ensuring your experience will be smooth and pleasant. Gone are the days of being transferred from one person to the next. At ACSI, they handle everything from start to finish. It's never been so easy to get internet service. ACSI is a growing Chicagoland company that encourages personal growth and rewards perseverance. As they expand, they're looking for passionate, responsible, and honest professionals to join their team. A career with ACSI means you'll be part of a hardworking, flexible, and dynamic team that is a leader in the installation of cable and internet services in the Chicagoland area. Best of all, ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year Award. Are you ready to grow with a local Chicago company on the rise? Check out acsi.tech and click on careers to get started. That's acsi.tech and click on careers.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah, baby.
It's that time again, brother.
Uh-oh.
You know what time it is.
Oh, boy.
It's time for Stirring the Pot. All right, bro. Since our guests have had the controls to the Stirring the Pot, I decided to grab the wheel and propose this question to you, sir. I saw this thing on Instagram, and I just had to bring it to your attention. Would you eat a deep fried gyro or Yito burrito?
Let me explain something to you.
Yes, sir.
I know the listeners out there are listening instead of watching. It's fat men love food, especially deep fried food, especially deep fried food and other deep fried food. I mean, so I think this is a very easy and astounding yes, because that shit sounds delicious. You could fry, let me tell you something, you probably deep fry a big toe and I'll dip that shit in chocolate. I mean, come on, like that shit looks good.
I'm not gonna lie, I gotta find out where they can make this, because it's pretty much it's like a gyro chimichanga. That's pretty much what it is, because that's what a chimichanga is, a deep fried burrito. I mean, who doesn't like a gyro? And then they deep fry it, and then they put the onions and the tomatoes and the tzatziki sauce in there. I'm down. We need to find out where they got these.
This is like one of those things that you eat once in your life and never again, but you eat it so you can say that you ate it.
1,000%. Like, yeah, I tasted that. It was great. I felt like I had a heart attack right after, but yeah, sure, I tasted it.
Like, did you have more than one? No, but you can see me standing here, can't you?
I made it, sir.
Yeah, so yeah, your job is to find out where this is, and we can get it going, and and go get our heart attack on, bro. That's what's it. Hey, here's the thing. I'm just glad that you agree with me again, because it means that I'm right. That's just 100% what that means. So if we agree, that means I'm right. You see how that works? That's a beautiful thing. I love it. My favorite part is how you held the picture of it on your phone up to the camera on the Zoom, and even then you still managed to make me right. I love it. I mean,
oh my God.
I don't know if that's a birthday gift or what that was, but I appreciate you, brother.
Oh boy, you know what? I'm gonna send you off on your trip on a happy note and let you say you were right, and we'll make that nice and loud on the show that you are right, sir. There you go.
You are correct.
You are correct.
You are correct. You are the father of correctness. Anyway, before we go, what you looking at? What are you watching that isn't sports, sir?
I mean, that's hard to do with the NCAA, the NFL, the NBA, MLB, MLS, and every other acronym you can think of that has a sport. It's all going on right now. So right now, the only two things that I was able to watch was Winning Time, which I watched this morning, was episode 2, and I know episode 3 is coming out as we are recording. So I'll watch that as soon as we finish here. And then the new movie by Ryan Reynolds, it's on Netflix. It's called Project Adam.
Dude, I heard about Project Adam. That sounds so cool. I like Ryan Reynolds in general. I think he's funny. I think he's interesting. So, I mean, I just watched Free Guy twice last time before we spoke. So, I mean, it's kind of cool that we get a double dose of Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool himself, for your viewing pleasure. I'm definitely going to check out that movie. I've heard a lot of cool things about it. How did you like it?
I think it's a really cool story. It's all about the time travel and so forth. And then the kid who plays him as a young version of himself, he is literally speaking Ryan Reynolds. If you can understand what I'm saying there. So he is freaking hilarious because it's Ryan Reynolds' words coming out of that small kid's mouth, and I'm like, yeah, this is my life in teaching. This is exactly what the kids sound like, and this is exactly what I sound like to them. So it is a great show. There's a bunch of snarky laughs in there. The concept is great, and obviously it's sci-fi, so I'm 100% down with it.
Yeah, that's gonna be something I'm gonna catch before we go on vacation, or try to watch it in the car, maybe on the way, because I can't drive that way. My wife is a saint because she does all that. I cannot drive like that. Sitting in that same spot with my leg jacked up against that pedal all those hours drives me crazy. So I'll be playing playing games or doing something on my phone when she's driving the whole time. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch that one. I gotta see. I think I watched that second. Oh, I did watch the second episode of Winning Time, where he's like all up on old girl, and she's like, "Get off me, dude! Like, what's your problem?" He thought he was somebody he wasn't. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on in the next episode. So being that I have children in my house, of course, we watched the newest Disney and Pixar offering called Seeing Red. Turning Red. Turning Red. It's a different title than the one I said. Yeah, Turning Red. Essentially, this is set in I want to say like 2000 or so, like late 90s, early 2000. And the story is essentially Mei Lee is a 13-year-old girl who is torn between being her mother's obedient daughter and the chaos of her youth. As if that were not enough, when she gets too excited, she turns into a big red panda. It was fucking funny, man. It was funny. There was some there was a little bit of controversy surrounding it because part of the movie, this 13-year-old young lady, when she realizes what happens to her turning into the big red panda, she's hiding in the bathroom, and her mom comes up and says, "May, are you okay?" And she goes, "I'm a big red monster." So what does her mom do? Her mom goes and gets a bunch of pads and tampons and says, "Okay, this is your first time," and trying to explain it to her. And she's like, "No, Ma, that's not it." And there was a lot of parents upset, saying that how dare you include someone getting their period in a kid's movie. And I would like to remind you that you technically get your period as a young woman when you are a child. That is when it works during your childhood. So why would this not be a child-based theme? This is a normal thing for every young woman to go through. So stop being so fucking weird about what's going on with kids. It's not sexualizing anything. It's telling you about, hey, this is a part of life, and that is very embarrassing and awkward as hell when you're a 13-year-old lady. And let me explain something to you. I got a 12-year-old in my house, so we know all about that shit, bro.
Thank God that that's you and not me. I get to talk to them and then let them go home and deal with those bodily issues.
Oh. No.
What else are you watching, man?
A couple other things is Human Resources is basically based on the show Big Mouth, the hormone monsters and the love fairy, the love bug, and all that stuff. Well, basically, this is the human resources department of those monsters, where they find all of their jobs and where they do all their duties and who they're assigned to. So it's pretty interesting. The same cast of characters that you remember from Big Mouth is back. You got the hormone monster, you got the jealous kitty, and all this other stuff. And it's really funny to see them interact with each other. And if you're a fan of Big Mouth, this is definitely something that you need to be checking out.
Definitely put it on the list to watch, man. Thanks.
Yeah, animation, adult animation. There's nothing better than that. No. And the last thing that we watched, I love adult animation. I mean, I've always been all over it. But yeah, the last thing that we watched last night is the new Scream movie. And guess what? It wasn't on Netflix. It was on Paramount. So how you like that? I moved off to Netflix. I got one Netflix show, I got one Disney movie, and I got a Paramount show. How you like that for streaming services, ladies and gentlemen?
Look at you diversifying.
I diversified my portfolio, and I actually used the paid service that I'm paying for. Scream, yeah, I mean, like, definitely an homage to the very first original one. Interesting enough, very gory, just like you expect Scream to be. I mean, it's just, to me, they're all kind of corny and goofy, but my wife loves these slasher films. She always has. She grew up watching them. My daughter and I sat there and wait. Well, as soon as the knife comes out, I take the bill of my hat, I lean it down so I don't got to watch anyone getting stabbed. And when that's over, I don't have to look at that shit. I mean, if that's your thing, it was entertaining. If it's not your thing, then sucks to be you.
I mean, I'll jump on it and I'll watch it just because of nostalgia, because, that came out in our era in the 90s and so forth. And it was, a pretty out there movie. And then now it's just like, it seems like a parody at this point. I mean, I'll give it a shot. Just like I said, closing the book on a series that I've watched, just like I did the Fast and Furious. I didn't like the last movie; it was stupid, but I can say I watched it and I wasted 2 hours on it. So, well, I'll give it a shot at some point during this week. The one thing that did come out that I can't remember what streaming service it came out. I think probably HBO. Is the Halloween movie from last year? Would you be watching that?
I think I've seen all of them already. Or is there a new one coming out?
The new one, Halloween, I think it came out last year, 2021.
We probably watched that already. I'm pretty sure we watched it. Do I remember the story? No.
Oh, then well, I'll give that a shot, and I'll report back next week.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not, it's one of those things that I'm sure we watch. I'm trying to, if I look at the synopsis, I'll probably it'll jog my memory. So if I'll try to see if I remember anything about it this week. But one thing I won't be watching. No more Maury, bro. It's going off the air. It's gonna end, and Maury's gonna be retiring, man.
I think he heard the show last week and said, "I had enough of this shit."
Yeah. Maury, the Maury Povich show, which was shortened, the name was shortened to Maury. It's gonna end after 3 decades, and I guess looking at this reel right here, from the studio, it says Maury and I decided 2 years ago that this season would be the farewell season for the show, and while his retirement is bittersweet, we are so happy for him to be able to spend more time on the golf course. So along with Ellen, who was another person who had a long time talk show, Maury Povich is going to have to father his own children now instead of worrying about everyone else's baby daddy.
Not really, if he's going golfing.
Well, he's going to find all the holes he can on the course.
Wow.
Yeah. So much for dad jokes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. A big thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 at checkout for 15% off of your entire order. That's TrueFan15. Go and get your shirts right now. And don't forget to visit our guy Danny and his crew over at ACSI.tech and check out the career section to start an exciting new career in the communications industry. Go to ACSI.tech, that's ACSI.tech, and click on careers to apply today and get your spring going right. Don't forget to check out our boy Enrique Calderon. His new single is coming out March 26th. And check him out on YouTube and all streaming platforms. I know you're excited about that.
Definitely run that again because you broke up. It literally chopped up the whole thing. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3.
From the beginning?
Just the Enrique Calderon. That thing went all over the place.
Okay.
3, 2.
And don't forget to check out our boy Enrique Calderon. His new single is coming out March 26th. Happy birthday to me. And check him out on YouTube and all streaming platforms. Bro, I know you're excited about this.
Definitely excited. Can't wait to finish listening to that song because we only got a preview.
Nah, that's it, bro. Hey, guess what? March 26th, you got to wait like the rest of us. Shout out to our friends at the Some of This and Some of That podcast with Coach Mo and Tease. Check them out on your favorite streaming service. And don't forget to check out the Shy Native Radio podcast, now available on all major platforms. Mike Logic, Ideal, and Throw MC talk about sports, movies, and all types of ill shit. And don't sleep, Mike Logic's new album, as I was saying, is now available. Check out mikelogic.bandcamp.com, miclogik.bandcamp.com. He is also doing Shy Native Nights. Go on Facebook and find Shy Native and Shy Native Radio. They're doing Shy Native Nights once a month, so you get a local and live music back after all this time being inside. Go and check them out. And don't forget the new music video for one of my favorite songs, So Low. It's now available to watch on YouTube. Shout out to Ronesh, Panic, Serious Beats, and Custom Made for the beats we play on today's show. Check out paniconthebeat.com for all your Mole Men merch and gear. And make sure you check out this absolutely dope collaboration from Serious Beats and Custom Made. Their new beat tape, Treasured Paintings, is available now. Go check out SeriousXBeats.com, SeriousXBeats.com. Don't forget to check us out on social media. You can find us at True Chi Fans on Twitter. That's at True CHI Fans on Twitter and on TikTok. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and hit us up on the DMs. Tell us about your stirring the pot ideas, your movie and show recommendations, and just tell us what you think about the show. You can also reach us at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. All right, y'all, for Big Z, this is E-Rock. We'll see you next week for episode 89. Until then, be good to each other.
For the love of sports.
Swish.
Happy birthday.
A few moments later.
You have a lot of incest.
That's real.
Shut your mouth.
Lover boy.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
I think he's on steroids.
Hasta luego, amigos. That's all. I shouldn't have had those artichoke poppers.